Hello and welcome to the Dental Labcast. My name is Jenna.
My name is Andrea.
Please follow and subscribe to support our show and to make sure that you never miss an episode.
Welcome to the next episode of the Dental Labcast.
Hello and welcome. Today we've got Beth Brown, aka the Party Enamel, which I think is a
Hello.
brilliant name. Hello, Beth.
Hi.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into dental technology.
So I am a prosthetic and digital technician mainly. I started 2014-ish. I never had heard of this job before. I think a lot of people either have like family in it or they've just come from nowhere, and I'm one of those people. I think I basically was at art college. Everyone was going to university to do fine art, photography, graphic design, animation, things like that. And nothing was sticking out to me of what I wanted to do in that kind of area, but I knew I wanted to do something creative. I think the fear in the back of my mind was that I wanted a career that I was going to be safe in, secure in for the rest of my life. And obviously fine art and things like that was really scary to me, that it wasn't a secure job, you know? So I took a year out, and then my tutors from art college basically just said, one of my friends is a dental technician. You should look into that because it has both elements of that. You have the creative side, and also everyone needs teeth forever. That's always going to be a job. So that's basically how it started, and that's how I got into it. And yeah, I've just been doing it ever since. I work in a private lab now. I do mainly digital dentures, a lot of chrome partials. I do analog as well as digital, and I do dabble in other areas, but I wouldn't say I'm great at them. I just try sometimes, but it's kind of fun when I'm not the best at it because I just love like learning new things. So yeah, that's basically where I am now. But yeah, I also teach on the side as well, and kind of share that through like education courses and things like that at the same time, just because I love that side of it, the teaching side of it, but also I never want to not be at the bench. Like I just love the bench so much that I could never step back from that fully and go fully into teaching. But yeah, I do love both.
So do you run your own courses then? Do you design and run your own courses?
Yeah, so I have my own company, the Party Enamel, or TPE, and that is basically, I did start it with the intention, this is like an inside scoop, I don't know if I've ever said this before, but when I first started it, my vision was more of a CPD platform. So just because of the real need for CPD, that me as a technician myself was thinking, I can't find anything that I want or need that's going to actually help me kind of drive my career forward. It was just more about ticking boxes at that point. And it was really frustrating trying to find things like anything to do with actual hands-on, like learning new skills. You kind of just finish university and then you're on your own, kid, and you just got to kind of like figure it out or ask people in the workplace that you're with. That was like the original vision of TPE, is to create this online kind of hub platform for CPD. And it wasn't originally going to be me teaching. I just had the idea to kind of have that place for people to host courses, you know, teach themselves, and kind of just let everyone kind of come together and say what they need or want to learn. And so it did start as that. And I did so much background work on like CPD, like compliance and all of this stuff, and website building to make sure that people could have accounts online, and it gave certificates and all of this stuff. And then further down the line, obviously naive me right at the beginning thinking this was going to be easy. It turned into something different because these people were telling me what they wanted and needed, and it actually turned out that they didn't really care about the piece of paper. They actually wanted the information to be able to do new, you know, take on new techniques or new skills or whatever it was, which was mind-blowing to me because I thought everybody was going to be like, I need this certification and I need this to tick the boxes. But actually, they were saying, I don't even mind if it hasn't got CPD because I just want to learn this thing. And so from there, I've now kind of developed it into focusing more on that side of it and actually just listening to technicians around the world and people that I've taught now to actually give them things that they want to learn and need to learn instead of trying to tick a box for them for CPD. So it's definitely changed a lot. I do a lot more of like one-on-one like online teaching, like mentoring, training, which it's fine for things like online software, and even hands-on is fine. I do mentoring for actually how to make things like bite blocks and setups and everything online, which I didn't think was going to work, to be honest, at the beginning. I did think it was going to be very tricky, but I did a quad helix over Zoom with an orthotech once. So I was like, if I can do that, people can learn how to make a bite block with me through this computer screen. Yeah, it's definitely changed into a completely different vision from what I had at the beginning, but I think it's definitely on the right track now for just helping as many technicians as possible, because there just wasn't anything like that for me a few years ago. So I just wanted to kind of open them doors for people and give them the opportunity to learn whatever they wanted to.
Do you think there isn't anywhere near enough training courses around, like say, to actually train and upskill people properly? There's companies who basically want to sell their product.
Yeah.
So you can rock up and they will show you their way of putting their product together or whatever. But that's not really the same, is it?
No,
So,
definitely not.
and there was a discussion online recently on the Technicians Great Britain page where they were talking about the DTS.
Mm.
And would you go, even if they weren't CPD, to some of the lectures and that? And just as you're saying, a lot of people went, like, so long as I've got the minimum amount to maintain my registration, I'm actually more interested in what you've got to say rather than the bit of paper you give at the end.
Yeah, exactly. I've had so many companies kind of contact me when they find out what courses I'm teaching, which is obviously amazing. Like, it's great to have the support of companies, and for things like materials and that kind of stuff, it's really good to have those relationships. But I was quite adamant on certain things of that I'm not committing to a brand when I teach a course. If they want to send samples for delegates to kind of try and test, then they can. But that's never going to be me saying I'm going to wholeheartedly, completely just market your product. I'm not going to put TPE into that label, because I want this company to be a technician telling other technicians what works for her. And it's not, everyone knows that it's not necessarily the only way that you can do a certain thing, but it's the way that I do it. And if I'm teaching you, then I'm going to teach you the workflow that works for me. And I think a lot of technicians really do like that side of it, because it is refreshing compared to, like you say, here's this product, you have to use it. This is the only one that works in the world. And I'm like, no, it's not. Yeah. So it is great to have that kind of visibility with technicians where you can give them. I mean, we did a composite course a couple of years ago, and we had like 7 different brands of composite on the same course. We got all these samples, and delegates got to try every single one of them. I never once said I prefer this one. There's pros and cons to both and all of them. And it was a really nice like teaching moment for them, because sometimes technicians just get whatever's in the cupboard in the lab, they don't get a choice really. Yeah.
I think you find a lot of technicians now in this day, they don't stick to one material at all. They don't stick to one brand anymore. They do a big mix and match of things, and they won't set themselves to a particular company, which I actually think is really nice and refreshing to see, because there are so many great products out there. And, if it is a really great product anyway, I always think personally that it will work with anything.
Yeah.
A composite will stick to another brand composite.
I make quite a few sleep apnea appliances at work, the mandibular advancement devices, and the particular one I use 3 different companies' products to come up with that final product. So I use one company's blanks, another company's screw, and another company's light cure.
Yeah.
But each company go, oh, no. You only have to use this because my stuff works better with my stuff. So you have to use all my stuff. There's an actual fact, you just don't, because you, as a technician, you play about and find what works for you, don't you? We understand the materials. They don't need to tell us
Yeah.
how to use the
Basic
materials.
material
Do it.
science.
Yes.
It really is.
Yeah.
You can even get something as simple as a steam cleaner. It says you have to use this descaling solution, otherwise other ones might break it.
Explode.
I'd be more intrigued to know what materials you're using if another descaling brand was to
Yeah.
stop it from working.
Yeah.
So let's just pick right back. So Am I right in thinking you worked in Australia?
I did, yes.
How long did you work in Australia for, and how was that? What's that experience like?
I stayed there a year. It was like a year visa. I never actually went over there to work. Obviously, I was going to work. I'm not like super rich, but it wasn't like my aim to go there for a job. It was just, I was kind of at that quarter life crisis time, I guess, and decided that that was my next step. I'd kind of come to a point in the lab that I was in here where, not that I'd learned everything, but I kind of was at that point where I was getting a bit more restricted with things that I could learn. And I felt a little bit like there was definitely more opportunities out there for me. And obviously, with me wanting to go over there, I did that. I got a job before I landed through Instagram. So that was really, like, I really felt lucky about that, because some people kind of go over and go, crap, what am I going to do? But yeah, it was such a great experience. I'd never done digital before when I went over there. And I'd never done implants before. And I got a job in a digital full arch laboratory. So it was weird because I think I'd got to a certain point in the UK where I was like, okay, I never want to say confident because then things like go wrong. But like I'd got to a point in my career where I thought, okay, I know dentures, not massively, but enough that I don't feel scared every day that I'm going to do something wrong. And then obviously I went over to Australia and I just felt like a student again. Like I knew nothing. The only thing that I knew in that lab was how to process them because they did like Iva-base processing. And obviously I'd done that with dentures. But everything else, I didn't even know how to turn 3-shape on. I was complete beginner. And I think if anyone had like an ego, it would have, like, they wouldn't have done well in it. But because I'm just like a serial student, I just loved every minute. I just was like, you're right. I know nothing. Like, teach me everything. And so, yeah, it was amazing for that. Like, that's how I got into digital, really.
Like a sponge then. I mean, you say that was a crisis. I think that's a brilliant crisis to have, on a plane off to Australia, nice hot country, beach,
Yeah.
lovely sands.
Massive spiders.
On that note of
We'll
being over there, is it different over there because when we talked about, you see a lot of posts going in onto social media and things, there's people that want to come over to the UK from different places, but there's there's set things and regulations they have to meet. How is that going from the UK to Australia? Do they have something similar where you have to meet certain criteria?
No. So for technicians, no one has to be registered. So I think as long as the lab is all up to date on everything, which obviously I didn't need to look into, there was nothing that I needed to do or like a registration I needed to sign up for or exams I needed to pass. If I was a CDT, then that changes everything. I would have had to do a lot more. But in terms of regulations and things like that, I actually didn't need to do anything. I did pause everything over here because I knew how hard it would be to get back on the GDC register if I ever left. So I continued to pay everything I needed to pay in the UK, including my indemnity, which when I did call them and say I'll be working 0 hours because I'm obviously in a different country, it still cost me way too much to say I'm working 0 hours. So I'm kind of glad I didn't have to pay anything in Australia because I would have been paying double anyway. But it definitely was worth it because the headache of when you're coming back and you've got all that to try and sort out would have been a nightmare. Yeah.
Great. So when you was over in Australia, was that when you was doing your teaching as well? Or did it start when you came back over here?
So I would say when I was in Australia for that year was probably the busiest year of my life. I don't do things by halves. I like to, if I'm going to go hard, I do it all. So that year, I was in my 3rd year of my master's degree. So I was doing a research project. Poor Ed had to meet me every week at a random time because of the time zone. I just forever grateful. But yeah, so I had that to do, which was, this massive study that I'd decided to do. Didn't pick anything simple. All these interviews, transcribing, everything like that, and a full research report. I was also working at the lab in Australia, and then I started TPE the year before. At that point, I had probably 3 or 4 online courses that I'd already built, and I'd just started one-on-one mentoring as well. So I probably had maybe 3, 4 3 or 4 like mentees every week, like for an hour session. Yeah, it wasn't my best choice looking back, but I did it and I passed everything. So yeah, it just I actually think if I tried to do it now, I wouldn't. I mean, I've passed 30 now, so that's it. Just I can't.
That's it. That's it. All
That's it,
downhill
write you
after
off now.
30.
There's
Done.
no way I would have any energy. Like I do like half the amount of stuff now, and I'm absolutely exhausted. So yeah.
When you think back to that, how did you manage it all? I mean, it must have been really hard to manage all of that.
I think it was just pure passion and delusion. I think like it was. I honestly don't know. I think I just wanted it so bad that nothing else mattered. Like I just every single minute of every single day, I was doing something for either the lab, my business, or my masters. Like there was no wiggle room for anything else. My gran did come to visit me for 6 weeks, so I had to like obviously spend some time with her because she'd come all the way from the other side of the world. And I was like, the only 2 hours I had spare, I was like, I've just got this meeting to do, or I've just got this report to write. And she was like, Beth. So yeah, it was tough. But yeah, I don't know. I absolutely could not do it now.
I think it's amazing. Honestly, you put yourself into people really so much that, you're taking all that time away from yourself as well. And I think there's a deep appreciation kind of needed for that, especially from people that's receiving that, of how much time and effort goes behind the scenes to arrange and organize all of these things and put all the information in there. And it has to come from a driven person with a bit of heart and soul in that as well, and that knows knowledge as well. There's a lot that I think a lot of people don't think about that goes into these things. But then there's also a lot of people that really deeply appreciate these things and want more of it. You can kind of get pulled from pillar to post, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing as well, is like, I just love helping other technicians, and the passion behind that is what's basically kept me going with TPE this whole time, because it's not this massive, I'm not making millions of pounds out of this, like it's something that I just really wanted to do. And it's taken, 4 years to get to this point now. But a lot of people do that, where they come in now 4 years down the line and they're kind of like, well, what are you showing for it? You've got this, this and this. But actually the satisfaction of knowing how many people I've helped and the connections that I've made through the community or something like that, just the networking side of it. And when people come up and say, well, I took your course and now we do composite in the lab because I've learned how to do it. And, I've got my lab owner to buy some composite and now we offer it. And we're now charging all of this money for these dentures, like things like that is something that if you don't have that passion, someone else is not going to care that they've put all that work in if they don't get the satisfaction that I do from that. And so I think that's mainly what keeps me going with things, because it's a real kind of pat on the back that it was worth it, all the hours and stuff. So yeah, I really do appreciate people who trust me to teach them as well, because, sometimes I'm like, I don't know, I can't know everything. So yeah.
You've worked across multiple kind of sectors, NHS, private specialist. Did you learn anything in particular from each one, or?
I would say I started off in NHS lab when I first qualified, but it was inside a dental practice. So it was kind of a niche experience that I got that I think other technicians maybe didn't. So I got 20 plus surgeries to be able to go and see patients if I needed to. They had the largest domiciliary contract in the entire county. So they had 2 full-time dentists doing domiciliary, and that was it. And so the experience that I got with care home patients, dementia, things like that, was so high compared to everybody else that it was 60% of my work that I was doing was these tricky cases. So I think that job in itself had such a niche area that helped me with so many things on top of the normal, NHS kind of like learning how to be quick, learning how to use as little material as possible and all of that kind of stuff, and just do everything so quick. I just remember doing like 26 bite blocks, like all at once, like all the base plate. Yeah, but definitely definitely things like medical conditions like dementia and things like that. I would say I haven't had that experience anywhere else after I left there. And then where else have I worked? CDT clinics. I've done quite a lot of CDT clinics just because that was a lot of my work experience when I was at uni. And again, such a niche place to work.
So were you working alongside a CDT, then doing the lab work for or with them?
Yeah, most of the ones that I did, it was just literally a one-man band. They just wanted, they didn't want to grow. They didn't want to do anything like that. They just wanted enough to keep them afloat. They didn't have any staff, and they were just pouring their heart into that little village that they lived in, And so that was really nice because you got really close with those patients as well. Like, even though I was only there one day a week on my work experience, I learned a lot from being so close to those patients because there was only 3 or 4 patients a week and that was it. And so that one was really, really nice to get more of the clinical side.
I think that makes a massive difference, doesn't it? Which a lot of technicians don't get to have. It's one of the reasons I love the job that I'm doing at the moment because, I work in a hospital now. I did work in a private lab. I didn't see a single patient when I worked in a private lab. I wasn't even allowed to answer the phone at the time. The boss had to answer the phone in case I spoke to a dentist and said the wrong thing or something.
Yeah.
And then you work in a clinic alongside a clinic or in a hospital, and you're getting called in to consult on complex cases. You actually going to speak to the patients and see what they want. I mean, how much added value do you think that would be to your average technician, and how would it change their perception of the work that they're doing?
I think it's so underutilized, like, because I had that experience when I was younger. I'm able to have conversations with dentists, even though I'm not in the same building as them. If they send, videos of the patient in clinic, or it's like a virtual consultation at that point. And it's just so valuable. I think, but I think it's the same with dentists as well. They don't get enough time seeing exactly what we're doing. Sometimes I'll show them something and be like, all right, well, I'm just going to do this. And I'll kind of just breeze over it because I just think, well, everyone knows that's what I'm going to do. But actually they're like, I've never seen this before in my life. What are you doing? And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
This is pancake.
I'm like the articulator.
Call us
Yeah.
dental magicians,
Exactly. Yes. We need that on a
Yes.
t-shirt.
magician technicians.
Yeah. But yeah, I think both sides being able to at least know what the other person is doing, because without that you're never going to give the other person what they need to be able to do their part. So the communication side of it has really helped me from being able to see the patients. I think obviously a few years ago, I mean, even now I sometimes do it where I go, well, can you just do this? And they go, well, no, I can't do that because of these reasons. I've just never even thought about that. I'm like, oh, actually, no, that is hard when you have an actual head attached to this model. Yeah. So it does help having Emily at work as well, because obviously she's a CDT. So sometimes she'll be like, no, Beth, we can't do that. And I'm like, okay.
You cannot remove that person's head and bring it with you.
I'm like, please.
At what point you've got quite niche. You've gone through a lot of different avenues, and dentures is your thing, teaching is your thing, and from what I can see on your social media, digital is your thing as well.
It is.
So, at what point did you get into digital, and how did you take on all of that compared to like analog?
So whenever I was in the UK, it was just analog originally. Then when I went to Australia, that was the first time I'd ever used any digital software, and they used 3Shape in their lab. So my avenue with digital is a bit weird because I started with the most complex thing you could design on 3Shape by doing fixed full arch implants. It kind of narrowed down this field because they had a specific workflow for it. So once I'd got used to that workflow, it then started to click, for me. And there are still some parts of them workflows that I'm just like, blows my mind. But I got that initial experience first. And even though it is implants, the steps to designing a full arch is very similar to a full, denture, because you're still setting teeth the same way. And you're still kind of carving the gingiva and, waxing it up, basically. So all of those skills I transferred when I came back. And I kind of just made sure when I came back that I was in a lab that I had digital, because I didn't want to lose that skill. I don't ever remember being taught how to do digital dentures on 3Shape. I just transferred the knowledge that I was taught from fixed full arch over and just filled in the gaps where I could.
Yeah, that was going to be one of the questions. Did you have somebody that kind of taught you all of this and that you looked up to, or is this something that you've just taken on, grabbed it with both hands and taught it yourself really, and just learned from trial and error?
Yeah. I took a lot from the lab in Australia, but apart from that, when I came back, I think it really helps that I've been on social media for a really long time. Like, I've been posting for probably 9 years now. So I've built up a really nice community on social media. So even though I did kind of come back from Australia like on my own, there was people at the Hive as well that were helping me with certain things that they knew that I didn't. And yeah, if I ever got stuck, I would just ask people online, and there'd always be somebody that would be like, oh, I've had this problem before. That's what I pressed. This is what I did. And you just kind of trial and error it until you figure it out. So yeah, I'm really, really lucky to have a lot of people that are willing to help, which is another reason why I love teaching, because I like giving it back, because I've taken so much from so many people online in the last 9 years. That
It's great to do it that way. I remember when I first came onto social media as a technician. I've been on social media for years personally, but as a technician. And I think I saw your page when you was in Australia. So I didn't know you. I'd come across it and I thought, what a great name that is. Party Enamel. That sounds like such fun. And an amazing name. I love it. It's really catchy as well. And I started following you and seeing the things that you do. And I was just kind of like interlinked with a lot of other things over in the UK as well. So it was only then I realized that when I came on as a technician on social media, how connected everybody actually really is. Because if you don't do that, you kind of do feel on your own a little bit. And it feels like there's a lot of technicians that kind of gatekeep information. Don't talk to them because they're rival. And then the world of social media is good. It is. I mean, it can be bad sometimes, but it's great for that networking and that support and to get that knowledge. You know, you could easily just drop a message to someone, say, can you just help me with this? What do you think about this? Or can you give me some advice? Which is, I'm guessing that's what you had with you the whole time with your following.
Yeah. I feel like I've got so many like connections now that like there's not much that I could be stuck on that I don't think I have somebody that will know this answer. Or they'll know who to, point me in the direction of, which I think is great. But even when I did my research project for my master's, the topic that I chose was obviously to do with TPE, because I wanted to research more into that background of CPD and things. A lot of things kind of came up from that, because I interviewed 5 UK technicians and 5 American technicians, and just kind of looked at the differences between both of the countries in terms of CPD and that kind of thing, and sharing knowledge. And the results, obviously a lot of people have said in the UK that people gatekeep and people don't want to share knowledge and things like that. And I think it definitely was like that. I think in the last 5 years or so, it's definitely changed a lot more, like you said, because of social media. But in America, they've never really been in that mindset. They do a lot more in terms of like mentorships within their labs. So they'll kind of have someone under their wing, and it will be their mission to kind of train them and teach them and help them whenever they need it. And I think it comes down to more of like, because we need CPD, whereas they don't, they're not registered, not necessarily over there, we're paying for CPD. So then in our mind, we're like, well, we don't want to give you this knowledge for nothing, because we've just had to go and pay for it to get this information. And so I think the mindset over there is definitely to do with the politics around being registered and all of the kind of compliance things that we have to do has had an impact on sharing information and helping each other out and stuff. So that was really interesting to kind of see the different perspectives between the two countries. But I do think in the last 5 years, it has kind of, because of social media, obviously everyone's more connected now. And so I think I'm really glad that obviously we've taken their perspective instead of the other way around, because that could have gone very wrong. But yeah, it's definitely different.
I think there is an older generation of technicians who used to have more of that mindset, and that was a thing, and not just within dental technology, but in general. You know, that was it. Knowledge is power and all this, and you have to guard it jealously. But culturally, I do think, like you say, it's changed a lot. And with the dwindling numbers of technicians, it's not quite as we're not as competitive with each other as we used to be. We can work together. And we do bounce off each other. We do lab to lab stuff. The more we collaborate, the better we all are as a whole. And I feel like people are starting to catch on to that a bit more now, aren't they?
Bit delayed, as we
Say,
always are
having
over
an
here.
amazing network, you know, networking and working together with people is just whenever you need something, there's somebody there.
Yeah. And I think the
You know,
big
you
thing
can't
as
put a
well is
price on that.
everyone used to think, well, if I teach you how to do this thing, you're going to steal my clients.
Yeah.
And it's just, there's too many dentists right now. There's not enough technicians. So I'm like, take some.
Well, I mean,
please know how to do this thing.
dentists don't think like that, do they? They don't think, oh, you know, I'm not going to do this because them down. I've seen especially in London. You see dentists. You've got maybe 3 or 4 practices all on the same road, and all of them are thriving. Then you come to the technician side of things, and it's a complete different game, really.
Yeah.
There's definitely plenty of work out there for people. On the digital, again, you see on social media that people are talking about analog and digital, and there's still quite a few people that are scared to move over to the digital side of things, especially when it comes to dentures. What are your thoughts on that for people that are scared to coming over to doing digital dentures?
It is a scary thing if you've never done it before because it's a completely new world. I think for Crown and Bridge, obviously, it's been digital for a while.
Yeah.
And so, again, there's lots of people to help you and guide you. With digital dentures, it is completely different. And I get it because I was scared when I started doing it as well. But I think the biggest thing is obviously like learn from other people, go on courses and things like that. But don't try to go back to your lab and just do everything all at once because it is such a minefield of things like buttons and things to press and things to get your head round. And I think that people dive in too quick with everything and then all of a sudden go, this is too hard, or this is not making any sense, or it's stupid software doesn't make any sense, or, you know, that kind of thing. Whereas I think if you go into it knowing that if you start small, start with something like immediate dentures where there's no stages in between. You're not going back for bites. You're not going, it's literally like a crown. It comes in, you do the work and then it leaves. You've not got any like problems with aligning things digitally and things like that. They're really good cases to start with because most of the time they've got enough teeth. So, you know, you're not kind of guessing bites and you know that that's actually where it's locked in and things like that, that's a really good starting point for people just to get their head around the software, get their head around like the stages and steps to designing. And then once they feel confident with that, then move on to other things to kind of just build on the skills that they've got instead of diving in right at the end with like a full class 3 patient can't do a reproducible bite and all of these things with a dentist that also has never done digital before. So it's just really hard to, you know, that's like a really bad idea. But yeah, if you start small, I think having the support again online and things like that. I get so many people messaging me and just being like, oh, I've just done this denture and, you know, I design them all the time, but this one thing's just got me. And I'm like, I've seen that error before. It means this. And then that was a quick, like, you know, quick fix. So there's always people around to help as well. But I think that's the biggest thing is just start small and just practice. Yeah.
And what point did you like feel 100% comfortable with using digital?
Still not. I'm still
So-
not 100%.
How long would you say it's taken, just on roughly, for you to kind of get comfortable with it?
I would say probably, I mean, I was in the lab in Australia for a whole year. And even up until the last week that I was working there, I was asking them questions. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. I then came back to England and was working at the Hive. They did do digital, but not really digital dentures too much. So I was kind of on my own in that area. I would probably say you've got to give yourself at least a year to start seeing, real results that you're like, okay, I know I can do at least immediates or like small bounded saddle cases and things like that. But yeah, like rescanning things in is still, it took me probably 2 years to get all of that into my head because it's a visual thing. Like technicians have been used to seeing a physical articulator for their entire career, wax. So if the bite changes, you can physically see that it's moved from here to here. Whereas on the computer, you've got scans popping up everywhere. Things have moved like slightly, but you can't see like where it's moved from. So it's like things like that. Learning that side of it is still very tricky to someone who's not used to, CAD design. But yeah, definitely worth the switch, I think.
Yeah. The reason I asked is because everybody learns at different rates. Some people are fast at learning. You're clearly a sponge and you go out there, you get it, you've learned a lot and you've soaked it all up. And I know that some people can compare themselves to others. So I just think it's really important that people know it does take time to learn these things. It's like you said, it's not an overnight thing. So that was just more for a message really to people to say, if you're stuck, don't give up on it. Because you do tend to find that's what a lot of people do. They go, oh, I've got a scanner in the back there, or I've got design software, but I don't use it. It's just getting dusty. I've got
But I
print
think,
dusty.
like you were saying earlier, Jenna, that there's a lot of people who they are just, and you, Beth, there's one man bands, in labs. There's like one or two of them. They might not even be confident with the computer normally, just doing emails and things. They know how to do the things they have to do, but they don't know anything else. So they learn whenever they need a new thing, they then have to learn that new thing to do that one thing.
Yeah.
And then being given this complex software, and then the company's going, oh, you can speak to our advisory team, and they will do one or two like little training sessions with you, and then you'll be ready to go. And you're really not, because then you're still getting your head around the actual what the machine looks like, what buttons to press on it, even just the interface and understanding all that. And then I think some people, it's just so intimidating and it just seems overwhelming, really overwhelming. And then if they don't know who to reach out to, or they're embarrassed because they don't know how to do it and they feel like, everybody else does, I think that we've still got quite a lot of those barriers, haven't we?
Yeah, definitely.
I think with digital as well, I think you've got even whether it's design, whether it's printing or anything, like even this week I've been doing some printing and I still ask questions on there. Like, I think it comes to, you've got a lot of options, haven't you? There's so many options to do it, to do different things. And even for me, I was like, do I put the sprues on as a lattice or is it a default, or do I do it with a base or without? Because, I said to Nicole today, I was like, how did you, when I took your prints off, they just came off like really easy. But when I did it, it took me, I had to give it a go to get it off the plate. She went, oh yeah, I just didn't put the base on. It's like, oh,
But
I've been
that's it.
putting the
You've got
base on.
somebody to ask, haven't you? Because you're working in a team of people who's doing this stuff. Some
Yeah, but
people
I'm saying that
haven't got that, have
with
they?
the digital, there's so many options that I think it can be easily
You
overwhelming.
personalise it as well, don't you? The people personalise
Yeah.
the
I
design
also
journey.
think that people are embarrassed when they get to a certain point in their career that they should know everything. I don't know. I mean, I'm a 3Shape ambassador and I get stuck on 3Shape sometimes, like if you knew everything, you'd be a robot, you'd be the software, so I think just kind of getting over that barrier of you're never going to know everything at any point in your career. The day before you retire, that you're going to have questions about something because there's going to be something new that comes out. So for me, making sure that I always have that mindset, I think, okay, well, I'm not embarrassed to ask people on social media or ask someone else, a question. And it just means that you end up getting the answers for more things. So then you end up closing that gap of not knowing it, a lot more things. So it's definitely overcoming that barrier, I think, as well.
Speaking of 3Shape, for being an ambassador. So how did all that come about then?
That was just from social media, I think. Because I was posting quite a lot in Australia, obviously, just because my social media is just full of whatever I do day to day in the lab. It's not structured on a certain thing to try and promote something or anything like that. It is literally just what is on my bench. And so I was just posting a lot about 3Shape because that's what I was learning at the time. But obviously 3Shape has their independent kind of teams within different countries. So there is one in Australia as well. I found that no one in Australia wanted to go to any events. I was working in this massive lab. There was like 60 odd staff, and I was like, "So what's your dental show? What's your, what's your version of DTS?" Basically, like, I want to go to this, and they were like, "Oh, well, no one goes," and I was like, "What?" Yeah, so there was nothing like that there, and I really missed the UK kind of like,
Is that because they don't have to have CPD and
I
things
don't
like that?
know.
Do you think they've just become more like, I don't need to go out and learn these new things or look at the new products or?
Maybe, I guess so. When I was talking to them, they basically were just saying that it was more of just products and companies and stands and things more than like education. So I guess it might just be kind of a ripple effect of technicians not going, them not putting exciting education on, and it just being that kind of thing that it's just become not a thing that everyone attends. But yeah, just no one went, and I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, I just didn't go. But yeah, the 3Shape, Australia were at those things, but I just never interacted with them, never got to actually speak to anyone really over there. So when I came back, obviously I was talking to quite a lot of people on social media in general, but then, 3Shape UK then contacted me because I think they'd probably been looking at my social media, but potentially just didn't know I was British, maybe, and just thought that I was Australian, and was like, she's posting a lot, but she's not in our area kind of thing. And then, when I came back, we kind of just linked up and it just made sense, really. They are a really lovely company to work with. So yeah, it's been great.
So talk to us more about 3Shape then. What are the biggest misconceptions that people have about learning 3Shape systems?
I guess the biggest one is I hear this all the time. People will just go, "Well, you just press a button and it does it for you."
Click, 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 next,
Yeah.
next,
Like the
next.
software designs it for you anyway, so that's fine. And I'm I'm like, I wish I just pressed a button and it did everything for me, but that's not the case. Like for 3Shape, it's very good because it is structured in a way that is easy to follow. However, without the background knowledge of a technician, without having, that technical brain, you can't it's like giving somebody who's not a technician an analog one and saying set up a full. You would get back the same quality of work. It is definitely, people need to understand that if they're going to invest in the software and they want to go down that digital route, eventually it might save you time, but it's definitely not going to at the beginning because you're going to have to learn how to use the software for probably a year and a half. So it's going to cost you a little bit at that point, but after that, then it will start to kind of make its time back for you and money back. People think that, once you've nailed the software and you know how to use it, that it's going to be very quick to do things. Whereas for me, I like to, when they come on my courses and things like that, I like to put it out there right at the beginning that for me, things like processing, like manufacturing, articulations, hard bases, things like that, they are a lot quicker digitally because articulations, they're already, aligned.
There's no plaster work.
Yeah, there's no plaster work. You don't have to wait for it to set, any of that stuff. And manufacturing, I mean, we don't have in-house mills. So for me, I literally just press a button and send it to someone else and it comes back ready to trim, which is great. So that's definitely quicker. But the biggest things for me, setting teeth, like waxing up, and that bit of it to me, and then the actual analog finishing once it's manufactured takes me the same amount of time as it does analog or digital, because I still need to, for like fulls, for example, I move every single tooth. I don't leave anything up to the software when it comes to it. I'll, take their kind of guesstimation at the beginning and be like, thanks for the attempt. Let me actually now go and put in where I want these teeth to be. So yeah, as long as people understand that and they don't think that it's going to be 5 minutes for every single stage, then I think having that headspace from the beginning is easier to get people to accept the software, instead of kind of going, well, this is rubbish, because it's like I've been sold that this is going to be, really quick and fix all of my problems.
For you. It's like somebody opening the door. You still have to walk through it. No one's going to carry you through the door.
Yeah.
Unless you're really lucky, of course. Is there anything that may pushed you more towards 3Shape other than, rather than other software systems that's available?
I guess it's more.
How many
Oh,
others have you actually tried? Because it sounds like you went to Australia, did 3Shape, and then you've pretty much done 3Shape. Have you actually tried other people's stuff?
I have not massive amounts, but I've been on courses for other softwares, which I cannot name, but
Mhm.
but yeah, it's they all have their benefits as well. There's when I was using those in courses, I've kind of gone, oh, we don't have that button. This is button's different to this, and that'll be good in that scenario. So every software has its pros and cons, I think. I do always say it's like Apple or Android. You start with one and then you don't change. You get used to it and you know where the buttons are and it's easy, and you just get the upgrades every year and you never make the switch. So for me, I think 3Shape is easier for those who are starting, I think. Other softwares that are out there, they don't have a solid kind of workflow. Whereas with 3Shape, once you've set the order form up and you've told the computer what you're actually going to design, when you open that design software, it basically tells you what to do at each stage, and it will kind of walk you through the design. So I think in terms of like user friendly, Shape is a lot nicer, I guess, for that. It definitely helps for teaching people because it is just a nice structured kind of workflow.
And when people are designing on 3Shape,
Mhm.
what do people kind of not do that you wish they did more of? Is there
Mhm.
something like that when they're designing, they miss out maybe, and you think, oh, actually, you can
You
do
can
it
do
this,
that.
or you're missing that, especially when it comes to designing dentures.
Mm. Uh, this is a tricky one because I do think it's tough to miss something if there's ever, if it tells you what stages there are to do. I think, I guess a big one that I found with my dentists that works really well, but you have to have that conversation with the clinicians and get really good records from them, is having photographs. So a lot of the time with analog cases, we either just wing it or we rely on Facebook for the occlusal plane. And, if that is on the first trying out by however much, you then have to just either take a new Facebook or, try and figure it out from, they'll take a picture with the trying in and you have to just look at that picture and then try and translate that onto, your physical articulator to try and straighten that up. Whereas on the computer, if you've got a really good photo that is taken at the right angle, you can see all of the trying in there, then you can align that on 3Shape, and it's basically a digital face bow. I probably shouldn't say that word, but it is basically that, where it's accurate enough to be able to then overlay that, the face on top of your design. And then when you make tweaks, you can say, okay, this is now going to look like this. And it does work with some photos, even if they're not 100% accurate. But obviously, the more accurate your picture is, the more accurate, your design is going to be close to it. But yeah, I've done some cases with really good like photography, and it just cuts all of the try-ins down. If you've got a tricky one where their mouth's a bit wonky or whatever, and it normally would have taken a few try-ins, I've got it down to like 2 because it's just so useful. And it's really good for communication as well, like showing the dentist, like, okay, well, I've moved, this to here. This is about what it's going to look like. It's not 100%, but is that what they're aiming for? Is that what they wanted it to look like? And they can go, oh, I know that she's going to be really annoyed if you don't move that, like, 2 mil higher or whatever. And it just saves us even printing that try-in because I've gone, okay, well, I can make that change before I even, send it to print. So that's a massive thing that I use if I can. But like I said, it's something that it could actually be worse if you end up with really bad pictures and try and use them, because then it would kind of throw it off in the opposite direction. But yeah, really, really useful.
Do you teach 3Shape courses as well?
Mhm.
You do.
I teach digital denture design, it's a TPE course, but I teach it at 3Shape. So they're kind of like partnering.
And do you do those regularly?
Yeah, I tend to do them probably about 3 times a year. Just everyone it's kind of a mixture between beginners who turn up who've literally, again, never used 3Shape before. Some people have got it in their lab and they've had a little like dabble, but they're not really sure. And I also get a couple of like clinicians on. I get a lot of CDTs as well, because obviously they want to do the whole workflow, digital, and figure out how to do that themselves. But I also get a couple of dentists on it as well, which I always encourage, because even though the entire day is about a technical side, they get so much out of that day.
Yeah.
If only just, I didn't realize how hard this was. And I'm like, mm-hmm.
Do you think it helps them to understand the actual processes in there and how long it actually takes to design these things and, get through the software? It's not just a click next
Yeah.
thing.
Definitely. And it also kind of opens their eyes as to what we need to be able to put that into the software and design. I've had a couple of dentists that are clients of ours, like at the lab, who have been on it. And as soon as they finished it, like they started sending us cases that were completely different, instead of primary impressions or whatever, we were then getting like reference dentures and things like that. So it definitely helped like their clinical practice as well when it came to dentures, because I mean, they're going to go for it if I say it's going to save them time and money, like everyone's a winner then. So they definitely listen. But yeah, they get so much out of the technical side of it as well. And they love having a play. I feel like they always love coming into the lab anyway, don't they? And like having a go at everything.
It probably makes them realise that they can't just click a few buttons chairside and skip the lab entirely as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I get a couple of them where they come in and like at 9:00 and they're like, I can't wait to learn how to do this so I can just buy my own. And then at the end they're like, I'll be sending this back to the lab. And I'm like,
I think once they realise they've got all this designing to do, the time it takes to do it, because you still need to know what you're looking at, what you're talking about. Otherwise, you're not going to understand the software. You need to understand the buttons and what each button does, but you need to understand the process as well, don't you? And then there's whether you print it or mill it. Getting onto that, can we talk materials quickly?
Yeah.
You've been trying some new materials I've seen over the last few months. How do you find digital denture materials?
I'm always a milled person when it comes to digital dentures, just because, well, there's a couple of reasons, but the main reason is milled discs are the exact same PMMA as what the analog dentures are. So it's just been mixed in a factory instead of in the lab. So it's actually a tiny bit stronger because it's obviously like perfect ratios and perfect conditions and things like that, but it's exactly the same material. So in terms of like trimming that, repairing that, anything chairside as well is exactly the same. So you're not having to explain it to clinicians or give them, you need to buy this new material or it won't. I've had it before where we kind of tested like 3D printed dentures as like a cheaper option. And the first one that we sent out, the dentist rang us and was like, the patient's in the chair and I've chairside relined this and it just won't stick to it. It just keeps popping off in two pieces. And he was like, I've put so much bonder on, like, what do I do? And we
don't do that.
Yeah, it just didn't work because it was more resin than PMMA. And so the material science just wasn't, going together.
Completely different material.
Yeah. So things like that I'm always quite cautious of because it doesn't just affect the lab. Like there's one thing, obviously, buying the materials for the lab to fix it and do relines and things like that. But you have also got to think of the wider kind of impact of that, of what are your clinicians using? What have they got in stock in their clinic? And yeah, and I think as well with a lot of 3D printed stuff as well, it's got resins in it, but it's also got a little bit of PMMA, but then it's got a little bit of other things that you just got. For me, I just find like there's more risk of like allergic reactions and then you don't know where to pinpoint it down to. So I think for me, in terms of strength as well, obviously milled at the minute is, from studies that I've seen, is still winning, strength in general.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll always be a milled.
Digital materials are not quite there yet then. Still some way to go yet.
Yeah, there's some 3D printed resins. Like I've seen like the Lucitone stuff. And that seems to be, it works and it looks fine. And that's, I think, the same where it's kind of mixed resin PMMA. So I guess it's just whatever works for you in your lab. Obviously, some labs will want a cheaper option, so that might be a 3D printed version. It kind of depends on how much you want to spend and what you want the final like restoration to look like, I guess.
Do you tend to find that you get a lot of clinicians that just want the cheapest, quickest way of doing things, and you have to kind of talk them through things a bit? Or is that kind of changed your side now?
Hive is very good with their clients are very good at what they do. So we don't get too many that want the cheapest. I think the mindset from the clinicians at the beginning is, I want the best. So they're happy to kind of go with the best. And they're also very lovely at, communicating and that kind of thing, and they know where their area of expertise is, but then they know that we have our area as well. So they're very good at listening to that if needed. But obviously, I think every lab has, the ones where they say, well, I'd rather have it quick. And most of the time when I feel like it's either quick or good, I don't know, you got to pick one, it's cheap, quick or good. You got to pick, you can't have all three. So yeah, but most of the time they're absolutely fine with that.
I think the reason I ask that is because there's always been this kind of stigma around dentures, isn't there? That they're cheap, they don't look as nice, they don't function as well. But I mean that might have been the case some years ago, but I think there's been a whole kind of U-turn on that now, and dentures can be just as nice and as functional and as beautiful as a full arch zirconia bridge or layered porcelain or metal ceramic, you know.
Yeah.
So I think people's mindsets are still yet to change a little bit on that, especially patients, I think.
Yeah.
They'll
Do patients really know the difference? Are
probably
patients
not.
really aware of it? Because I don't really think they are they? A denture's a denture to a patient. They don't necessarily understand the differences in the materials or the
Yeah.
processes. In fact, most of them think you just get like a size 5 out the drawer and that's it, don't they?
Well, you do,
Yeah.
don't you? You can buy one in the shop window, can't you?
You can get them from Temu, can't you?
You actually can, which is really scary.
Bit of hot water would be fine.
Yeah. No, I think there are a lot of patients that do have that mindset, and it's definitely, I think, an issue with making sure that they're aware of different things, because some people will come in and be like, I just want the cheapest, I don't have all this money to spare, I want something functional that's going to work, and I'm happy to go for the bottom line kind of thing, and that's absolutely fine. But I know from obviously working in a lot of clinics and practices that actually having the patient involved in that decision making of different things and showing them the differences and why they are different really opens up their mind to, the amount of times that they've said, in Emily said, with her patients, like I asked them to look at, a gingival shade guide, to try and match their pink tissue when I'm finishing the denture, and they were absolutely blown away because they didn't even know this existed.
Yeah.
And they just felt like, that we're going above and beyond for them to make it this bespoke thing for them. Then they're a lot more aware of the options. And then, I mean, most of the time, as soon as you realize it's a thing, someone goes, well, I want that. I don't want to be missing out. I need to have that thing that you've just been talking about. Yeah. So it is, I think it's very much dependent on who the clinician is having that conversation with them as well.
Can we go back to just quickly about your teaching and your growth as a technician and in the dental community? For people who want to grow and want to get out there more, if they feel like they're a little bit on their own in the lab, like you were speaking about earlier, how would you advise them to get themselves out there a bit more? Where would you tell them to start?
I'd probably say social media. It's just a free thing to get into the community, completely dependent on what you want. I mean, everyone keeps telling me to go on TikTok. I do have a TikTok for my business, but even me saying it sounds weird. I feel like I'm a little bit too old for TikTok. I don't know how to use it. I never open it. I think if I opened it, I'd have so many messages that I've never looked at in the entire 4 years it's been a thing. And so I just don't use that as part of my, it's not something I go on to connect with people because I'm just not used to it. Whereas I'm an Instagram person, so I'm very familiar with that, and I just utilize that and kind of, find my people through there. So some people use LinkedIn. Whatever you find the most comfortable for, there's going to be technicians on there, and there's going to be people within dentistry there for you to connect with. So I think that's probably the first thing I would say. What else would I say? Obviously, there are different groups. Obviously, I do have Tech Talk, which is a community platform, and people are so lovely on there and supportive of each other and very motivational. And I think it's a really important thing to have that space where you don't feel embarrassed to ask that question, or you don't feel like you can't ask it because someone might have a go at you or whatever. For me personally, I don't find nice groups on Facebook that often. I have in the past obviously been in groups, but I just at one point felt that it was just too negative for me, that I removed myself from that, because I preferred the Instagram kind of community because it was more building people up than not necessarily tearing people down, but just complaining all day, which technicians love to complain. It's like their
They
favorite
do.
thing. Yeah, so it's not, none of them are bad. It's like find the one that really resonates with you the best and that you can find your people, because you know you're not going to like everyone. And then, you know, you can kind of build from there. But yeah, I think
Did you build your tech talk through your Instagram community then? Which one grew first? How did you build those
Would you
up?
like to describe what Tech Talk is for people who don't
Yeah.
know what it is?
yeah, so Tech Talk is a community platform, so you can access it on the laptop, on your tablet, but it's also a mobile app as well. So if you've got the app on your phone, you can just stay logged in all
I've
the
got
time. So
that.
it's basically like its own little social media, you know, place, but it's specifically for dental technicians. It's got different areas in it, so it'll have like an industry intel section so that you can post about things going on in the industry. So maybe research papers, or if there's any events going on and things like that. If people are selling equipment, you know, whatever they want to do. There's also like a community forum. So basically like a Facebook page where you can post questions, help each other out, things like that. And then it's also got a resources section, which is full of videos of things to help people. So there'll be little posts on like educational topics. There's quite a lot of Instagram live sessions with, I mean, there's both of your guys' ones on there, which are just full of like industry leaders talking about their niche topic, because obviously I only have what, you know, my area. That's not the entire thing of dental technology. So I do want to make sure there's something for everyone that they can kind of access. And so, yeah, I built that as a place, like a hub basically, to just keep everything together and hopefully allow a place for technicians to connect with each other, like inspire each other, but also learn if they want to, because they can sign up to courses on there and, you know, rewatch stuff. So yeah, it just turned into this hub really.
It's a great hub. I'm part of it. And we talk in there every now and then, don't
Yeah.
we? So
Uh-huh.
it is a great little hub. I definitely recommend people to go on it.
Thanks.
Well, I did ask you earlier how you managed doing all of your training, your teaching, and your learning
Mhm.
pre-30, although you know, age is just a number, isn't it? How are you managing all the things that you do today with your courses, with your teaching, with your
Mhm.
one-to-ones? You've done a lot in a relatively short time.
Yeah.
You've mentioned earlier you're very open on your Instagram. I feel like a lot of people probably feel like they know you personally because you put
Mhm.
you know, you at home and you're designing, or you're catching up with work at a weekend, or you're going in, or you're posting on there about things that you're doing with your team at the lab.
Mhm.
So I've probably thrown a lot at you at the minute.
No, it's fine.
How are you managing all of that now? And do you get a lot of people that you feel like they kind of know you and you don't necessarily know them so much?
Yeah. I think again, delusion. It's just again, I just don't know how, but also a lot of people do message me on social media because I post a lot and they're always like, "Oh, do you ever sleep? Do you ever take time off? Do you ever?" No, I don't. This is not something I'm trying to advocate for. This is not a healthy thing to do, you know? This is like obsession situation. And so I think if people look really successful somewhere and they're telling you that they're not like that they're being successful in every single area of their life, it is a lie. Like I definitely there's parts of my life that I don't share, that I don't do too well in because I'm doing well in other areas. So it I don't have all of this excess like, you know, resource within myself to just keep going whenever I need to. And I think a lot of people think that I do. So I think that's why I try to share more personal things as well, because it's not, I don't want it to not look realistic. But at the same time, that is my reality. Like, I do a lot of work, probably compared to other people, but they do a lot more in other areas that I lack. So I think that's the important thing of it might look like I'm doing really well, but I am just surviving like everybody else, you know? It's just, I just put my energy into that one area instead of everything
I
else.
always say, as long as you're happy and surviving,
Yeah.
that's what matters. Now, on that, what advice then would you give to your younger self starting out again?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'd probably say to kind of slow down in between milestones, because I think I'm just constantly on, that I actually forget to celebrate that I've done something. Like, even with my masters, I had like 3 years of solid studying. You know, I had like 2 weeks off when I flew back from Australia, and I just started a new job again, 6 hours away. So I moved house, like didn't have a car. I had literally a suitcase to my name when I came back because I had nothing else. And I had 2-3 weeks to go to my graduation, move 6 hours away from everybody else, like start a new job, find a house, and all of these things. So I never actually kind of stop to appreciate it. And I think that's a big thing that I'm slowly trying to do now, because I realize I'm just constantly working and don't have the downtime in between. So I'd probably say that. Else? I don't know really.
I think based on what you said, it's just find something that you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Because if you're passionate about it, it won't seem like work and it won't
Yeah.
seem as hard
Mm.
because
Yeah.
you're loving what you're doing. And you
Yeah.
clearly are loving what you're doing and
Yeah.
are really enjoying that and getting a lot of satisfaction from that and seeing, you know, the impact that you're having on other people, on their
Mm.
lives, their careers, their self-esteem. So, you know, keep doing what you're doing because you will be inspiring other people to also have the same level of energy to do it. If you don't like it, step away,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
basically,
Exactly.
because you'll just make everyone else miserable, won't you?
Yeah. Exactly. I'm trying to make everyone else passionate about general technology, but yeah, if I ain't got any, I've got nothing to give. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Andrea definitely hit the nail on the head there. I think you mentioned not long ago you lack in other areas. I don't see it as a lack. It's like Andrea says, it's something that you love a lot of, and other people like love a lot of little things. You
Yeah.
love a big thing, one big
Mm.
thing, a lot of love into one thing, and
Yeah.
other people put a lot of love into lots of little things.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I think it's definitely no lacking anywhere. It's great what you do, and you are one of those people that help build that community and that give people support. And on those bad days, people can look at your social media pages and be like, "Oh, she can do it. I can do it." You know,
Mm.
you give people that push to carry on because we all have bad days in the lab and think, "Oh, why do I bother?" We've
I
all
have those
been there.
days too.
Yeah, we've all
We
been
all
there.
have those days, yeah.
We have. So just before we finish, what are you most excited about for the future of dental technology? Is there anything that you're looking forward to in the future or?
I think there's been a lot recently of digital things coming out, which is very exciting. I think I'm probably most excited for the training to catch up. And I know that's a really weird thing to say, but because there's so many new equipment, software, technology that's come out, I think the industry as a whole has just thrown that out to us and then given us no support on how to use it. So we are kind of just stuck in this limbo of, well, we need to use it to be ahead of everyone else or to be at least the same as everybody else. But then again, we're just stuck. Like Andrea said earlier, when you get a product and they give you literally one session that's an hour long or something like that. And so I'm quite excited to get to the point with digital dentures that Crown and Bridge are now at, where enough technicians actually know their workflows and feel confident doing them digitally. I think that will be a great time, because then more people are just gonna benefit from everyone knowing those things. So
Great. Is there anything else that you'd like to discuss that we may have missed out?
I don't think so. I mean, if anyone has any questions, I'm always open on social media anyway.
Do you want to give out some of your handles, give out some of your information? Where can people find you who don't know about you or know where to find you right now?
I'm basically just the Party Enamel on everything. So if you search that on any social media, it's all the same. My website is just thepartyenamel.com. So it is all the same. So hopefully it's not too difficult. I will be at DTS as well. I don't know if you guys are going. Andrea's speaking. You are.
I'm speaking. We've got a podcast there. We've got the Dentex stand
nice.
as well,
That
which
sounds like a
we will
busy
both
weekend.
be on.
But yeah,
It is
I'll
a
be
busy
there too.
weekend. Yes.
But yeah, if anyone wants to, ask a question or just come say hi.
Are you going to be on a particular stand? Are you going to be on the 3-shape stand, or are you just going to be milling around?
I will. I think I'm going to be on the 3-shape stand, but not all day. I'm just doing a couple of sessions. So, I'll probably be
speaking?
around. I'm not speaking this time. I made a promise to myself at the beginning of this year that I'm going to say no to things, because I say yes to everything because I think it's an opportunity that I'm going to miss out on if I say no. And then I give myself too much work.
Mm-hmm.
And I end up working, but I can't do this anymore. I'm over 30 now. So
you're giving me much hope because I'm 40 this year.
Yeah.
And I've just scraped over 50, so
well, I wish. So I'm just trying my best to kind of just plateau out for a little bit, because I think I've worn myself out the last few years.
Take a step back and enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm just doing more like background stuff for TPE, building more courses in the background, just things like that for new launches, instead of, taking my time away to do,
and people
talks.
can find all those courses through all of your social media that you've got and your TPE.
Yeah. There's links everywhere, basically, on all of the social media. On the website, it's all there as well. And if you're a member of Tech Talk, they're kind of all in there as well. So, but yeah, if you there's anything particular that people want to learn or something like that, then obviously I still do mentoring as well, which is like a 1-to-1, more personalized training. But that's all the information's on the website, or you could just send me a message and I can always kind of let you know if it's something, quite a lot of the time people say, can you teach me Crown and Bridge? And I'm like, no, I cannot. Yeah, so I'll point them towards you, Jenna.
It'll be.
Definitely not towards me.
I'll point other people towards you.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to add to that, Andrea?
No, other than just to say thank you so much, because it's been absolutely lovely talking to you, and I think you're the kind of person who's done that many things and is that excited and vibrant that people could just sit and listen to for hours. So thank you for giving us some of your precious time out of your hectic life.
I know.
Yeah,
yes, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
It's been great to have you. Thanks.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Bye.